You go away for less than half an hour, and Celtic have decided to do a deal for a defender. Celtic have signed defender Benjamin Arthur on loan until the end of the season. Unbelievable. You go away for 20 minutes. Benjamin, you go away for 20 minutes or so, and Celtic sign a defender on loan. Now, that is coming out of Brentford. Is a reporter that covers Brentford games, and the defender is 6'4". Brentford still remain in discussions with Celtic, although Arthur remains set to join Martin O'Neill's side. So it isn't concluded as yet, but it looks as if the deal will be done. I think it looks like, is it going to be a loan to buy, or is it just a case of getting this young guy in so that we can allow a Celtic player for Stephen Welsh to head back to Motherwell. And that will be it. That will be the conclusion of everything Celtic this afternoon. I just got a notification. Utrecht. I don't know anything about the young boy, but it looks like it could be a good deal for Celtic. Getting a young guy in on loan. Like I say, it does. I'm still waiting to see if there's an update with the Bolton Wanderers, and they have got just over an hour now to conclude the deal. So what's the difference between Arthur and the boy Poozy we had? No idea. No idea. Jamal Simpson Poozy is worth 6 million. The club that he went to, they've got an option to buy for 6 million. I'm going to eat a bit of chocolate. I need a bit of sugar. Anybody else got Christmas sweeties left? The last one. No, Thomas, I am going to come to that in a minute. It has been a terrible window for the fact that Celtic have rejected 25 million for Arne Engels. It's crazy because at no other time would Celtic reject such a high offer, and fair play to Martin O'Neill, because without Martin O'Neill being at the helm of the club, I don't think that any other manager would have the say or have the balls to tell the hierarchy at Celtic that we cannot allow Arne Engels to be sold. Just do that and that'll get all the news. Let me know that it's happening. We're just waiting on other bits of news happening this evening. But that is the big one, that Celtic do have a defender in. There's 59 minutes to go in the English transfer window. Now, it does look like Nottingham Forest are now looking at other options. So we could sit back and relax that Nottingham Forest are not going to come in with, it was reported by Sky that about 10 minutes ago that Celtic were not going to receive another offer. But here is the latest coming out of Sky about Celtic.
Yeah, certainly a very busy day ahead here in Scotland. Let's start with Celtic because the fans have been crying out for additions to help with their Scottish Premiership title defence. And they do have two deals agreed, but nothing finalised just yet. The deals namely are for a striker and a winger, the striker being Junior Adamu from Freiburg, a potential loan deal there, and a £3 million deal has been agreed between Celtic and FC Lorient for winger Joel Mvuka. They won't be done just after those two.
Let me just get this one to play instead.
Made a bid yesterday of £14 million. That was rejected. Then this morning, another bid of £17.3 million. That was rejected. Now Nottingham Forest are coming back again to put a lot more pressure on Celtic and saying, how about potentially up to £25 million for a player your manager has already come out and said, we don't want to sell. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next couple of hours. Centre midfield is the one position they really want to strengthen today, but there has been developments in their quest for a left back.
That's not happening. Let me just see, is it this one?
Made a bid yesterday.
No, it's not that one.
Arne Engels. The last bid went in this afternoon of around £25 million. 20 million up front plus £5 million in add-ons. Celtic turned around and said, no bueno, we're not going to do that deal for that. We haven't got time to find a replacement. So now Nottingham Forest have been trying to work within the recruitment model of trying to find players in their early 20s, bring them in, development. They also had an offer, interest in Hayden Hackney today at Middlesbrough. That was rejected by them as well. So now the club is looking at other options late on in the market to see if they can bring somebody in the...
That's it. Nottingham Forest are no longer looking at Arne Engels. That has been confirmed by Sky. We are just waiting to see if Celtic do start announcing some of the players. And there is Celtic are close to agreeing a loan deal for Brentford centre-back Benjamin Arthur. The club are still sorting out some details before it can be sanctioned. If a deal can be struck, he would pave the way for Stephen Welsh to move to Motherwell back on loan. That is now confirmed by, Sky News. That one also. So it is close with that one for the defender. I think that Celtic will get this one over the line. We need the defender in. We know that Stephen Welsh isn't happy sitting about on the bench, and it's going to be an interesting. But is it still a terrible window for Cummins in? Yes, mate, it is, Scotty boy. I mean, I'll address that now that we are at the tail end of the window. I said at the start of the window, before Brendan Rodgers left, I thought that we would need around about 7 players to come in this window, and players that would make the club better. I thought the club would act when Wilfred Nancy came in. We acted quite early on. We got a player in for Wilfred Nancy, the one player. Breaking news, Celtic have just announced a player. Breaking news, Celtic. Junior Adamu joins Celtic on loan. Bang on. We can just get this one. It is official. Celtic have made their first deal of the day. And it looks like Celtic are delighted to announce the signing of Austrian internationals Junior Adamu, who has joined the club on loan until the end of the season, subject to international clearance. But the club having the option to buy for the player. The 24-year-old forward has been capped 9 times by his country, made 28 appearances last season, scoring 2 goals, including against Bologna in the Europa League. His career started with Austrian side, went to RB Salzburg, and then he moved to Germany. Martin O'Neill said, "We are really pleased to welcome Junior to Celtic. He has experience of high-level football, firstly with RB Salzburg, and then of course in Germany, the same place that Arne Engels came from for the past few years. He's also been involved in European competitions, so we're bringing in a talented and experienced international forward to really enhance our attacking options." Speaking to Celtic TV, Junior Adamu said, "I'm very excited to be here and I can't wait to get started. I want to give my very best for the club and to try and win the title and the cup and to score a lot of goals and help the team. I also want to improve as a player. I've spoken to the manager and he has given me some good motivation. I trust him and he has given that me that trust. He told me how the system is, and I feel connection is really strong. I am dangerous in the box, hungry for goals, and that's what the manager sees, and I want to show that on the pitch. I can't wait to be in the stadium. I've seen a lot of videos and it looks amazing. I cannot wait to get started with Celtic. Deal done. First deal done of the evening. There is another 2 to go. Junior Adamu on loan with an option to buy for the end of the season. So will Celtic ultimately take up that option to buy? That's the first one in. We know that there is another winger on his way to Celtic that went through a medical also. And then we're still waiting on the deal to be done for Brentford defender Benjamin Arthur on loan. It's not ideal. We are spending £3 million on the other guy, but it's overall, we have brought in, that will be 5 players in this window. I still think that Celtic are 2 players short in this window. I think that we really needed to bring in a big holding midfield player, and I think that we needed to bring in another defender. I think that we're short with experience in the defender department. Bringing 3 players in today, 5 in total, I don't think that cuts the mustard with the fans. The fans will still see this as a bad window. They'll still see this as Michael Nicholson clambering about at the end of the window. The fact that we did get an offer of 25 million for Arne Engels, the club rejected that. The club not telling them exactly what they valued, but it did not meet the valuation of Celtic. Now, you could say what you want about Arne Engels. You say that you don't like him. You could say that he's a player that is absolutely does nothing for Celtic. But the fact is that Celtic Football Club rejected the £25 million offer. They see him as having a valuation of more, and they've went down a different road. Celtic will come out and say it's been a difficult window, blah, blah, blah. But I think that there were deals there to be done early on in the window, and Celtic just doing what Celtic do. For me, it hasn't been a great window, but at least we know that Arne Engels will not be going anywhere. I mean, there's one way to look at it. None of our important players are leaving. We're still in the shout for the title, although that does look difficult. Just reading some of the comments. Martin Hale's had 3 weeks to pick players. Give the guy a chance. It's crazy. It's crazy. This is crazy. 25 million for someone who hasn't lived up to expectations. Sell him. It's Martin O'Neill. Do you know? It is Martin O'Neill. So let me just get this one that the Celtic have also signed that one. And get that up on the screen also. Well, done deal. Done deal is on the screen now. It should be coming up in the chat. We'll take the Toby one down actually, because he's never going to get a chance at Celtic. So we just have the done deal, and we're just waiting on a final done deal from Celtic, and we're also waiting on notification of Brentford taking Johnny Kenny. That is the one that we are still waiting on. Other than that, I think that there won't be too much, not much more business to be done. I think that that will be Celtic's business concluded for the night once they get this defender in, and once they announce the winger that has been brought in. Also, let's just get that up on the screen. Deal done. Welcome to Celtic, young man. Let's hope that you can score some goals for us. And at the end of the day, he's knocked Johnny Kenny out the team. So let's hope that he's better than Johnny Kenny. He has scored goals in the Europa, but it doesn't set the heather on fire, does it? I mean, the big talk and the big chat for the next couple of days will be the fact that Celtic turned down £25 million for a player, which is phenomenal. It's crazy amount of money, and let's hope. A lot of people are saying let's hope that Arne Engels doesn't down tools the way that maybe Dice Maeda down tools when he didn't go in the window. Arne Engels, I think there's a difference between Arne Engels and Dice Maeda. Dice Maeda wanted to leave the club. Celtic had known for a number of months that Dice Maeda wanted to leave the club. Arne Engels wants to stay at the club until the end of the season. And I think to try and compare both situations, I think that that's a bit harsh on Arne Engels. Engels' situation will be the exact same as Dyson's. I don't think so. Anglin Ayrshire. I don't think so. Arne Engels didn't want away. Do you know, he come out and said it 2 weeks ago when there was interest from Germany. He turned around and said, "Look, I'm happy here." But anyway, all the zombies are talking about Engels. At least we've got reinforcements in. Yeah, I mean, we've got the 3 reinforcements in that Martin O'Neill wanted. Personally, I'd sell Engels for 25 million. Yeah, but Martin O'Neill likes him as a player. Do you know, if you can't get someone in, we've still got a European game to play. Do you know, we've got important games coming up, and that's what Martin O'Neill will be looking at. The fact that Celtic, whether you like it or not, we're still in for 3 competitions. We're still in 3 competitions. When you look at the fixtures that's coming up, I'm going to keep an eye out. It is, I mean, we've not even started talking about the Aberdeen game yet. It's 2 days, 2 hours and 44 minutes until the Aberdeen game. And that's going to be a tasty one because Aberdeen they've had to release one of their players that they had on loan. He was recalled by the club and then sold to someone else. When you look at the Aberdeen game, the games that we've got this month, Aberdeen is a must-win game, Tawdry Stadium. It's always a tight game up there, but Martin O'Neill, I think that Celtic will win that because Aberdeen are in free fall. And then you look at the game at Celtic Park in the Scottish Cup against Dundee. Celtic will want to win that to go through to the next round in the Cup. Do Celtic use that game to bleed in some of the players that have came in? Does he make wholesale changes in that game? Because you've then got Livingston at Celtic Park on the Wednesday. Livingston that have just changed managers with David Martindale going upstairs as director of football, deciding to step away from the dugout. Will that help Livingston? Will that give them a boost? And then after that, we play again on the Sunday. We play Kilmarnock at Rugby Park. Kilmarnock have had that new manager boost. They beat Aberdeen quite convincingly. So, you know, we're going to need the players. And then the big one for me is the game against Stuttgart at Celtic Park. Martin O'Neill will want to win that game. He will want to give himself a cushion because he knows when you go to Stuttgart, if we even get a draw, if we can win the home game against Stuttgart, if we can win that 2-1 and then do not lose by a bigger majority in the away leg, if we can get a 1-1 draw in Stuttgart, if we can get a 0-0 draw in Stuttgart. It would be a fantastic result to take us through. We have to do the damage, and Martin O'Neill does not want to weaken the team. When you look at the players that we have in the midfield for Celtic, by selling Arne Engels today, you would have weakened that midfield terribly for the Europa League games. It would have left us with Benji Negrin, Luke McCown, Paulo Bernardo, Callum and Rio Hatate. Paulo Bernardo's not played enough game time to be up to speed, to be at that level. You know, he's hardly kicked a ball all season. He'll still be physically fit, but his game and match sharpness will not be there. I don't think. Paulo Bernardo needs a run of games to get him into that. He maybe got that before we got to that game, but Rio Hatate, you know, the love-hate relationship that Celtic fans have with Rio Hatate, we know he could turn it on. His first game against Rangers, he scores an absolute cracker for outside the box. Other than that, he's not done too much over the years. And then some people complain about Callum McGregor, Mr. Pointy, being left with only those 4 players for 3 positions in the midfield would damage Celtic going into those games. And that's why I think that Martin O'Neill would have went, nope, we need as strong as squad as possible. Because then after the Stuttgart game, we get right back into it on the Sunday. And these are European times, so don't worry about the times. We look at Hibernian. Hibernian have just sold a player for 6 million. They don't need to sell anybody. They definitely didn't need to sell a midfielder to Celtic. And then we go back, we go away to Stuttgart to finish off the month. It is another massively important month for Celtic, one of the most important of the season. And Martin O'Neill will know that if we drop any points in the league, it could damage our league run. If we get beat in the cup, we are out. That is it. Martin O'Neill will want to make sure he puts out the strongest squad possible to make sure that we get round to the next round of the Scottish Cup, because that is a competition that has got Celtic's name on it. And Martin O'Neill will also want to do as well as he can in the Europa to leave his legacy the way it is. Right, let's jump back into some of the comments till we are just waiting on the next announcement by Celtic Football Club, which will hopefully be as Tottenham. I tell you, Brentford have loaned out quite a few players. Just jump through some of these. Yeah, I don't think Hibs would. Why would Hibs sell another player in this window? They've just banked six million. Hibs don't need to sell any other players. You know, we talk about Celtic not wanting to sell Arne Engels. Hibs have just made 6 million. They don't need the money. Motherwell made £6 million, and it's not a lot of money in the wider world of football. But in Scotland, for Hibs and Motherwell to have banked £6 million in the last 2 transfer windows is a massive deal to those clubs. They don't need to feel pressured to sell any players to Celtic Football Club or any other team in Scotland or anybody else, because Motherwell are trying to push on. Hibernian, they know that they've got a fight on their hand as well. So you've got to say fair play to both of them. But fair play to Celtic even more, because Celtic turning down 20 million. Yeah, just the coin. I thought that Celtic, if it went to 20 million, I thought, would we sell him? That's touch and cloth time. Fair play to Martin O'Neill. I think we need to give Martin O'Neill credit, because the board take the money. If Brendan Rodgers was still in charge, the board would have taken the money. They would not have even thought twice about taking the money. It's as simple as that. I mean, they sold Adamida for a loss at the end of it. But anyway. Baz, are you convinced there'll be no more signings after the winger? There'll be the defender that's coming in, and that's it. Martin O'Neill said 3. I think that it will only be the 3. I'm not convinced with this Junior lad. Well, to think about it, he's not going to be a first choice striker. Do you know, we've got Big Tam the Czech and we've got Kelechi Iheanacho. That's your number 1 and 2. This guy's coming in to take up for where Johnny Kenny. All he's doing is coming in as cover for Johnny Kenny. When Callum Osmond comes back into the fray, it means that we're going to have 2 young players that are vying for the positions. So fair play to Martin O'Neill. Do you know, he's enhanced Martin O'Neill will say that he's managed to slightly enhance the squad, and we've not lost any of our players. And I think, personally, Brendan Rodgers, boom. Do you know, Arne Engels would have been sold just like that, and we'd all be sitting going, bloody hell. Big, strong, fast. He was good for Salzburg a couple of years. Yep, that's why as our team will win the league. Remember, Johnston and Osman were back in March. I don't think, is Johnston back at the end of March? Is that too late? We've got players in the positions that I think, I mean, what it does do, by bringing the 3 players in, losing Shin Yamada is no big deal. It's not been the perfect window, right? I still think it's been a bad window, because if we had brought players in early, I don't think that we would be in the position that we're in now. Do you know that a lot of the damage was done before through December. Martin O'Neill's came in and steadied the ship. Do you know? I think that Martin O'Neill's done better than he would have accepted. I mean, there are a couple of players that Celtic went in for and could have got in, and I think the blame does come down to Michael Nicholson. Nicholson will come in and say, do you know, I tried to get the best deals for Celtic. Fact that the Martin O'Neill wanted in 2 wingers, and we didn't get Martin O'Neill was asked about deals being close, and it was almost done. And Martin O'Neill was convinced that we were going to get those 2 players, and it turns out that we didn't get either of them. That comes down to, I mean, the man himself will take all the plaudits for turning down 25 million, but Michael Nicholson will know deep down inside that Celtic should have took that money and should have ran all day long.
Celtic have been desperate for a striker in this window. They've now got 2. How critical could that be to their title hopes? Benjamin Arthur as well, the Brentford defender. That's one Celtic are close to securing a deal for. And if they do, that might then pave the way for Stephen Welsh to go back to Motherwell, where he was so successful in the first part of the season. So it's heating up at Celtic.
It is heating up at Celtic. And I think that once that deal does go through, that deal has to be concluded in the next half an hour. So we will know within the next half an hour. Well, no, we've got until later on. As long as the deal's done, the paperwork is lodged before 7 o'clock for the player to be sold in England. So hopefully that will get done. Will we get more money for Arne in the summer or next January? I think that Arne Engels will ultimately, I think that you could see Arne Engels playing a complete blinder in Germany. Don't know. According to STV News, Motherwell was going nowhere. Yeah, we knew that. We reported that this morning, that the Motherwell was going nowhere. Turning down 25 million isn't a brag. Stephen, you know the way that the board works, and Michael Nicholson will take full pleasure in saying, no, we're in a fine position. It was my decision to make sure. It was nothing to do with Nicholson. Nothing to do with Nicholson at all. We need to move on. It's not going to happen. Of course it's not going to happen. That'll be Celtic's business will be concluded within the next 35 minutes, I think. That's it for English clubs. We can still sign players to 11. Yeah, but don't if they're selling a player, don't they have to lodge it before that time as well? Because then they'd be selling a player after the transfer window closes. So I think that they would need to. I don't think there's any need for a live feed from Celtic Park tonight, mate. I mean, there was going to be one, but I don't think there's going to be any need. I think that the business. I mean, I said this morning. I hope that Celtic have their business done by 6 o'clock. It's looking like I'm not going to be far off it. It looks like they could have their business done for 7 o'clock, because I cannot see Celtic bringing in any other players. So there's no need for a live from Celtic Park tonight, really. Adamu, Kelechi, Big Tam. No credit to the board at all. They deserve nothing. No, it's not. Paul, it's as far as I'm concerned, it's still a bad window. I think that not bringing in players for the Hearts game has been the downfall. I think that we could have still been in shouting distance, closer to Hearts if we'd beat them. The draw with Hearts, I mean, Martin O'Neill will say, look, having a player sent off was the difference. But I think ultimately, if we had had more players in, it would have made all the difference. But you never know. You never know. We could still win there. Turning down 25 million, yet refusing to spend money on decent players we have been linked with is crazy work. Yes, it is that. Like I say, Celtic were only after 3 players today. And it was the 2 that done the medicals last night. And a defender. The Brentford player is a pointless signing and should have been a quality experienced addition. I think it's hard to try and bring in a quality addition at this stage of the window. If you're trying to, I mean, where do you, to get a defender, Nottingham Forest turned down offers for defenders today for that people try to buy one of their defenders. I think people want to keep players that are going to make a difference to the club. Celtic did it with Arnie Engels. So we'll wait and see. Forest will come in again 100%. No, they won't. Nod Celtic, they won't. I had it up earlier. They are now looking at other players. I'll see if I can get that reel. Where is it? Which one is it? This one. No, it's not. It's this one, I think.
Yeah, the club's confident of getting a left-back in before the deadline. That's Luca Netz, the 22-year-old German defender, coming in from Borussia Mönchengladbach. An initial fee of around £1.1 million has been agreed. It's because he's in the last 6 months of his contract. That's why that figure is relatively low, but he'll come in. That deal's expected to be completed before the deadline. The problem is the main target was a centre midfielder today, and the club had been rejected not once, not twice, but thrice by Celtic as they tried to sign Arne Engels. The last bid went in this afternoon of around £25 million, 20 million up front plus £5 million in add-ons. Celtic turned around and said, no bueno, we're not going to do that deal for that. We haven't got time to find a replacement. So now, Nottingham Forest, who've been trying to work within the recruitment model of trying to find players in their early 20s, bring them in, development. They also had an offer, interest in Hayden Hackney today at Middlesbrough. That was rejected by them as well. So now
they're looking at another player. Sorry about cutting that off, but now Nottingham Forest are looking at trying to get in someone older and experienced. At 22, Engel still has a big ceiling. He's a big athlete, so ideal for the big 5 leagues. He will also get a big move, proving again that Celtic are a great option for career development. That is very true. Just catch this.
Breaking News, Matt O'Reilly is returning to the club from Marseille. His loan has ended before the end of the season. The Denmark international returning to the Amex, where he will be in contention for the rest of the season.
Interesting. Matt O'Reilly, 28 minutes for Hibernian have signed a wing back. Hibernian have signed a new player.
Was Jeremy Jacquet, because
Anyway. I think it's time for a beer for all of us. Enjoy the last 4 hours of the evening. Yeah, it is looking as if it's going to peter out this evening. I'm not done the dust it yet. I'm going to try and stay on for until the English window close. Yeah, let's do that poll. Personally, I think it's been a bad window, but there we go. Have a poll running. Do you think it's been a decent window? I'm going to say no. I don't think that it's been. I think it's been a crap window. I think that Celtic needed to get players in before the Hearts game. Well before the Hearts game, we needed to get players in as quick as we can, as we could have, and we didn't. So my vote for it is going to no. I don't think it has been. We are just waiting on confirmation from Celtic about the other player that was brought in. We will stay on until we get these notifications coming through and get confirmation. I don't think that we'll see. They've obviously got Junior. He will have been on Celtic TV by now, I take it. Yep, there we go.
I'm 65.
Just see this. He was in at Lennoxtown, the young lad. So he's not been at Celtic Park yet. He's just been straight up to Lennoxtown.
I'm very excited to be here, and I can't wait to get started.
Can't wait to get started. I better not do that because Celtic will probably try and copyright me. So what I'll do is I'll give you exactly what he did say. He says, yeah, you're here on loan until the end of the season. There is an option for Celtic to keep you. What are your ambitions over the next few months? Yeah, I want to give my best, he said, for the club and to try and win the title. Also the cup and in the Europa League, score a lot of goals to try and help the team. I can't wait for it. And Celtic TV then went on to say you're an Austrian international. Austrian internationalist. You've played for Salzburg, where you most recently played in the Bundesliga as a striker, and describe what kind of striker you are. He says, I am a striker who likes to go very often deep and be a good against the ball and to try and be good in the box and to score a lot of goals. And then you join us in the middle of the season, which is a little bit of unusual, which means you need to hit the ground running. Celtic are currently behind in the league, chasing the league leaders. Why did they need to say that? Are you ready to be thrown into the deep end of the battle? He replied, of course, I really, really am and can't wait. I will give my best for the team. We've heard all this nonsense talk before. Don't know, but anyway, that is the interview with the young lad who has came in from Germany. Let me see what you're saying about the window. Has it been a good window or not? We have had 288, 290 votes. 84% say it's a crap window, 16%, 15% say it's been 85% crap, 15% good. I really miss Matt O'Reilly. he did well on loan. It's a pity we couldn't get him. Sure, round nod. I'm satisfied with the window. Most of the guys I've signed are chasing down World Cup spots. Has been okay. I think that we could have done better. Like I say, I think that we're a holding midfield player that we really needed to bring in. And I think that if we had got another defender, someone that was really commanding in the box, we're bringing in a defender that ultimately is going to just... He is bringing in the defender that's going to be on the bench more than anything. The guy's coming in to sit in the position that Stephen Welsh would have been doing. Who are the three of that 5 that get added to the Europa squad? That's an interesting one. Well, the young boy Junior. Well, that's interesting because if Celtic get rid of Johnny Kenny, that opens up another space in the Europa squad. Does it not? Does that not open up another place? By getting rid of Johnny Kenny, does that not open up a 4th place in the squad? I think it does. Alison, can't answer that, Baz. It's yet to be decided. Anyone leaving? Yes, Johnny Kenny's leaving and Stephen Welsh. And then a young goalkeeper. Young goalkeeper is leaving also. There is another notification came in. A lot of confirmations now coming in. Nothing, Celtic haven't confirmed their next one as yet. Going to go over to see what people are saying. This will be an absolute hoot, this. We're going to jump over to the land of Twitter just for shits and giggles and see what Celtic fans are saying on the post for the young lad that has come in. Welcome to Celtic Junior. Keep them coming. Keep those millions in the bank. This is some... There's them missing an absolute cracker. Yeah. Just what we need. No thanks. Another loan, another loan. Sack the board. Failures in every department. Terrible recruitment in January as expected. Other news, welcome Junior. And he wears the number 9. He wears the number 9 jumper. Oh dear. And there's his journey. Can't be too bad. Anyway, that's enough of the land of Twitter. It's enough to drive you absolutely bonkers when you see what people write on that. Arojo, he's a baller, smashing. Yeah, I mean there has been some good additions to the squad, but ultimately, I think personally, I mean I wanted 7 players in, getting in 5 in total, isn't too bad, but it's loan players. It puts the next manager under a rebuild scenario. If we don't take up the option to buy for Junior, I mean all that Celtic are doing is giving the next manager a little bit of hope that he doesn't have a complete rebuild to do. It depends what the deal is with Johnny Kenny. Is Johnny Kenny away on loan with an option to buy? Is Johnny Kenny being sold? I generally thought we'd made a couple of biggest signings. The board couldn't care less about what the fans want. Says Perry. No, I think that comes down to Martin O'Neill. If you listen to some of the interviews that Martin O'Neill said that he didn't want to go in and make big purchases in case the next manager does not fancy the player. Now, we've already brought in Mikel Ange Balak-Wisha. Now, he's on a 5-year contract, and Martin O'Neill doesn't fancy him. You know, Martin O'Neill was trying to bring in 2 other wingers, so Balak-Wisha, he'll not be seen much between now and the end of the season, and he's on a 5-year contract. So, I mean, if you start overloading the squad with permanent buys, and the next manager doesn't fancy them, it then puts us in a position. Now, this isn't by no means standing up with the board. This is only just reiterating what Martin O'Neill said. And Martin O'Neill didn't want to put pressure on the next manager. He knows that there's going to be a rebuild in the summer. Martin O'Neill knows that Rio Hatate will be gone. Daizen Maeda will be gone. James Forrest may not take up the option of another year. You know, we need a replacement for Cameron Carter-Vickers because he's out injured every single season. There's not a full season goes by where Cameron Carter-Vickers has not been injured. So we need to bring in 2 centre-backs, I think, in the summer. You know, we're getting a guy on loan. It's just, we're going to need a complete rebuild. The next manager that comes in has to be in early. Now, all the talk will turn to the next manager over the next couple of weeks. But when you start looking at the squad, the next manager's got his hands full. And anybody that's got an inclination that they might be offered the Celtic job, I would be watching every single Celtic game. There may be managers that look at Celtic over the next couple of months and go, you have to come into this job with some guarantees of transfer budget. Do you know, you have to come in, the next manager has to come in with guarantees of transfer budget. The next manager has to come in with guarantees that he has overall control of the football department from the academy upwards. And we also need to bring in a manager that looks and talks as if he wants to be at Celtic for a 3-4 year period. Getting a manager for coming in for 2 seasons is absolutely no good whatsoever. We cannot build any kind of longevity. You know, Brendan Rodgers tried to do it his first time round. He tried to build a Celtic that would benefit other managers for years to come. We don't have that now. And that's what's wrong with Celtic. We want someone that can come in and not just steady the ship. Martin O'Neill's here to steady the ship. We need someone that can come in from day one, have a look at the overall football department, keep Fozzie, keep Sean Maloney. You know, McManus can go back down to the B team. We've got the core of a good backroom staff at Celtic for taking the club forward. The guy brings in his own assistant, brings in his own medical stuff, whatever. But if he keeps the core of them at the club so that they know the journey that they wants to take them on, and then it's all about building Celtic for the next 4 or 5 years. Because if we lose the title this year, you can guarantee that we will sell Arne Engels, Daizen Maeda, Rio Hatate. We could even try and get Cameron Carter-Vickers out the door because nobody will come in for Cameron Carter-Vickers, and that's the situation. But anyway, you're going to be left with Balak-Wisha and players like that think they're good enough for Celtic, but ultimately are not. The Emirates Stadium. Just double check. There is another notification. Now, this is an interesting one because this is one of the players there is no option or obligation to buy. Now, this is an interesting one because this is one of the players that Celtic were linked with early on in the window. It is a Crystal Palace player, and Stoke City have signed the Crystal Palace winger, but there was no option or obligation to buy, and I think that's why the deal has fallen through. I actually think that it's been quite clever by Celtic in this window. if they are just trying to get deals done that do have an option to buy or an obligation to buy. You know, it's try before you buy. It's as simple as that. Rather than just bringing in a player to get us over the line in this window, is get a player in, see if he's going to be good enough. You know, Martin O'Neill will leave a fantastic report on players, and if they're good enough, Celtic will put forward a proposal to the next manager. Look, these guys have played half a season. Martin O'Neill says that we should buy them. It's up to you. Do we buy them? Do we not? You know, Martin O'Neill says that yes, we should. Martin O'Neill might turn around by the end of the season and say, don't buy him. You know, I think Martin O'Neill will have a big impact on these players, not just the fact that they've came in now, but he'll have a big impact on whether some of these loan players that have come in with the option to buy, whether or not they will be around next season. Alistair Johnson, CCV, Jota are not going anywhere next season. They need to use next season as a rehabilitation season. Yeah, this is true. I don't expect Jota to be sold, and I don't expect Alistair Johnson to be sold. I think that Alistair Johnson's a player that he's come out and said publicly also. He says that if he's got the opportunity to stay at Celtic for the rest of his career, it says that he would gladly do it, and it means that he's doing something right. If he's sold, could be the fact that Celtic think that they can get someone better in, and he's maybe not doing it. But you never know. Just reported Engels ain't happy about having 3 birds rejected. No, it's not. It's not just been reported. No mention of that goalie that we're looking at a couple of days ago. I think that is there really any need to bring in another goalkeeper just now? We brought in a goalkeeper in the summer in Ross Dohan. We brought in Sinisalo the same time that we brought in Kasper Schmeichel. Sinisalo should be given a fair chance at being our number 1 goalkeeper next season. Some people say that he's not worth it, but the form that he was in towards the end of last season says that he's worth it. But we'll wait back. We knocked Matthew amazing price for Engels. We won't see that again for him because he is crap. What is wrong with us this season? Araujo's better than Alistair Johnson, but Araujo is not here on permanent, is he? He's just here on loan. And there's not an option to buy with him, is there? He's just here to the end of the season. I'm back. Who have we signed in a centre back? Celtic are in they're about to announce Brentford defender Benjamin Arthur to join Celtic on loan until the end of the season. But anyway. Right, let me just do a little bit of an update, see if Celtic have coming out with any other notifications. Because we know that there is one player Celtic are close on agreeing a loan deal for the Brentford centre back. And at that point, you will see Stephen Welsh go. And we're also waiting on Brentford making some kind of announcement. Not Brentford. Come on, where is it? Celtic usually like to spread things out by about an hour or so to try and... So it's 36 minutes ago that they announced the player, the loan signing of Junior Adamu. So I reckon it's probably going to be around about another 30 minutes or so that they'll put out the next player that will come in. Surely Ralston out on loan? Nah, Ralston's not going to go out on loan. Yeah, we're still waiting on the Timu version of Mark Viduka. Don't listen to the Daily Rangers about Engels not being happy. Use your media pish. Yeah, of course they're going to come out and say that. The Scottish media will do anything to come out and say that Celtic players are unhappy, especially when we're closing down on Hearts. Keith Jackson says Engels running about London Road with a chainsaw. Listen, stop quoting Daily Record stuff, because it's absolutely bonkers. Oh dear, honestly. What time is it? 8 minutes until the window shuts in England. 8 minutes until the window shuts in England. Apparently Engels is unhappy that Celtic rejected the bids. Don't buy it. Why would Engels want to go to a club that's in a relegation battle? Think about it. Think about what you're reading. I mean, the Scottish media love nothing better than to try and upset a Celtic player. Why would a Celtic player want to leave Celtic after 2 weeks after saying that he didn't want to go? It doesn't add up. He said that he didn't want, when the Germans came in and put in a £10 million bid. Remember, it's not the first bid this window that Celtic have rejected for Arne Engels. They rejected a bid of 10 million for him earlier on from the Germans. Why would Arne Engels, if he was going to spit the dummy out, he would have spat the dummy out then. Why would Arne Engels want to leave Celtic to go down to Nottingham Forest to play for a team that's in a relegation battle? They're sitting on minus 11 goals for the season. That's got relegation trouble written all over it. Do you know, the goal difference itself, sitting on a minus 11 goals, you're going to be in and around a battle for relegation. Why would any player want to leave Celtic? Surely his agent would even say, look, mate, you'll get a better club in the summer. There's every chance that Nottingham Forest could go down. You would then have to have a clause in your contract that if you would, Arne Engels would want to sign a clause in his contract to say if the club gets relegated, he then has a release clause of around about 10 million. So you never know. Celtic could sell him to Nottingham Forest for 25 million. They get relegated, and then they have an option to buy back in 10 million if they get relegated. But I don't believe that Arne Engels, he's not that kind of player. But anyway, it's the Scottish media. If he went to Forest, could say bye. Yeah, exactly. There is no way that he would have got anywhere near his international team. Was it short-term greed over future spoils? I think so. I still think that Arne Engels, he's not going to go. Listen, Arne Engels is not going to go to Arsenal, Man City. He may go Aston Villa. Might come in for him. Aston Villa are doing quite well in the English Premiership this year. They're up to third. They're in Europe as well. They've seen Arne Engels in the flesh. Do you know, a club like that? Aston Villa are usually a mid-table team, to be honest. A club like Aston Villa might come in for them. A Brentford, a Fulham, you know, somewhere mid-table. A Liverpool might come in for them. You never know. But I think Kenny will be sold. Can't see him return. He's not going to be sold in this window. No way. There is. Oh, Nottingham Forest.
Player, but the centre midfielder they were after all day isn't going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
Anton, thank you very much indeed.
It is not going to happen. That's it been confirmed. It has been confirmed out of Nottingham Forest. Sorry that I missed that. but it's just been confirmed out of Nottingham Forest that deal will not happen. 3 minutes to go in the transfer window in England. It's been confirmed. Nottingham Forest deal will not happen. Will not happen for Arne Engels. So we can all relax and calm down. Oh, what an exciting night it's been, isn't it? How long have we been on? 59 minutes already. There is a live poll going on, so make sure that you do vote on that. Was it a decent window or shite? Good or crap? 81% say crap. I think it's been crap also, but for reasons... I don't think that... I mean, I think that Big Tam the Czech, he's got a bit of... The way that he took that header, it's a bit Pierre Van Hooydonk like. It's maybe even a bit Van Gure Hesselhink. I don't know. The way that he took that header. Van Gure Hesselhink, bit of Pierre, bit of Chris Sutton. I like the way that he managed to get good bit onto it. He got in between the defenders. Gives us something that we've not had for a while. Adam Ida didn't really do that, so he's an upgrade on Adam Ida, and if we get him for $6.5 million in summer, could be a good piece of business. For me, it's can Tam the Czech ultimately score 10 goals between now and the end of the season? If he scores 10 goals, he's better than Adam Ida. That's all I'm saying. He will have more chance than Adam Ida had. Now, you've got to put the comparison to Adam Ida because big, tall player, and he's cost less money. But when you look at the other players that have come in, I still think a holding midfield player, a big, dominating central defender, not a 20-year-old central defender that's just going to be here at the end of the season. I think that we need... You triple his wages. Yeah, but I think it's good news that Arne Engels stays myself. I know it's madness. 100% Tam can score more than 10 goals. I think so. I think so. At least the last 7-10 windows have been shite. We get a gem now and then. Surprised we didn't go for Jan's kid. We wanted a big name striker. Yep, and he has. Wait a minute here. Wait a minute. Oh man, this is going to scare. This will scare you. 55 seconds left in the transfer window. Liam, day 33. Did we spend a penny on a striker yet? It's starting to grow in patches, and the stress is turning me grey. Liam has been on strike until Celtic buy a striker, and look away now, because he's not shaved until we buy a striker. I think that he is going to look like Father Christmas by the time that Celtic ultimately buy a striker. Thanks for scaring the viewers. 15 seconds left in the transfer window down south. 16 left. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Boom! That's it. Where's the noise? The window has shut in England. They cannot buy Matt O'Reilly. Hey! They cannot buy Matt O'Reilly. Where's the noises? Wait a minute. I need to turn up the sound effect noise part. Hey! Or is it a case of... The window's closed! Yes, that's it. The window is closed, and it's... But there's still time for Celtic to bring in some players. The window has not closed in Scotland. Dear God, are we staying up until 11 o'clock? I'm not staying on until 11 o'clock. What I will do is I will take a break at some point, and I will see if Celtic bring it in another player. Martin O'Neill has history with Forest. Of course he is. But anyway, the good side is that is the big window that could take away any of our players. Thankfully, there are no players that could be taken away. It is all about who Celtic bring in, and I think that there is only one deal left to be done, and that is the Brentford. Oh, wait a minute, here we go. Update: Motherwell are still hoping to bring back centre-back Stephen Welsh on loan before the end of tonight's deadline. There is agreement in principle if Celtic, who are close to agreeing a loan for Brentford's Benjamin Arthur, and bring in another centre-back. So that one will happen. That has just been announced on Sky by Anthony Joseph, that Motherwell are still looking to bring back Stephen Welsh on loan only until the end of the season. That one should go through as soon as Celtic have the deal done with the Brentford defender. The Brentford defender. 81% hate Celtic. I think a lot of them only hate Celtic because they didn't sell Matt O'Reilly for not Matt O'Reilly. They didn't sell Arne Engels because there was a big lot of people wanted to sell Arne Engels. The Thai league is still open. What does it say about Welsh and Murray that we are trying to bring in a 20-year-old? I think that Murray will get a game before this guy that's coming in. He's only coming in as backup. Do you know, Murray doesn't want to stay at Celtic. I think you're doing a disregard to Stephen Welsh, because Stephen Welsh knows that he wants away. Stephen Welsh has said that he wanted away from Celtic. He wants to go and play football. You know, Motherwell cannot afford to buy him at the level that Stephen Welsh's wages are allegedly at. Stephen Welsh wants to go play football. He doesn't want to sit around on the bench. The guy that's coming in from Brentford is backup, and he's backup material. That's why we're bringing in a 20-year-old and not going out and spending some good money. And you've got to say that again is Martin O'Neill making sure that we are fine for the second half of the season, but it's also not putting pressure on the next manager to leave him with players that are crap or may not be good enough. And it could be the fact that Celtic have already had secret discussions with the next manager, and maybe Martin O'Neill, I doubt it, it's not Celtic way. Celtic aren't that clever. Celtic are just not that good at all, are they? Not at all. Forest not in Europe next year? No, they're not. And that's another reason that why would Arne Engels want to go to Forest? So don't believe the stories. You know, there's no way that Nottingham Forest are going to get into Europe next year. If Arne Engels was happy to go to Forest, then I think it's a load of bonkers. Bonkers. Yes, the boy that we're bringing in is 6'4". Let me just catch up. That is the Motherwell one. Oh. Should we come back on later on? Let me just do this. Closing part of the window. For Celtic now, we're into the run-in. There's one thing for sure. It is a case of Celtic. Park.
Rob, Jean-Philippe Mateta was looking for a new...
No, nothing to do with Celtic. Just I missed out a load of comments. Forest payment plan option. Oh, why is it jumping like that? No, the Forest wanted to pay 20 million up front. 20 million up front, but I think it was the part of the 5 million would have depended on them staying in the Premiership. Don't know. Will you see the best of Arnie when he plays in Callum's position? I hope so. Sick of hearing the Ingles is shit. Ay, ay, ay. Yeah, this is very true. Sean Dice knows a baller. Yeah, I know the window isn't finished yet. We've still to announce Mavuka, and we've still to announce the defender that we're trying to bring up. But I will be back on. Let me just see. 7. We'll come back on around about 9:30. Can Forest still not sign Engels if the Scottish window's open? I live in hope. No, they can't. It is done and dusted. Everything on the cheap. Come on, Celtic, just announce the deal is done. God, do you know what's even worse is that you're now going to get Celtic websites reporting Daily Record. The Daily Express. Yet the person that's done it has put nothing on his social media. The person that says that Arnie Engels is upset has put nothing on his own social media, and he comes out of Aberdeen. How's somebody up in Aberdeen going to get on the phone to Arnie Engels? All right, Arnie, what's happening, mate? Are you happy that it's... Fuck off. Arnie Engels, tell you. Don't believe it. And I'm more disappointed that you're now going to get Celtic sites running with the story that Arnie Engels is unhappy. You're playing right into the hand of the media that do not want Celtic to succeed in any way. No, not a thing. All right, let me just jump through these comments. They are that. They're gutted that we have a 20 million asset. Arnie Engels said he was happy to stay. Martin Neal, exactly. Arnie Engels, we'll go back to the bid that came in for him a couple of weeks ago. That Arnie Engels said that he was more than happy to stay at Celtic until the end of the season. So anyway. Tell me a person who would be happy losing out on a treble or double their salary. The Brentford one has gone through. Is it? deadline day deals. Stephen Johnson, I can't see that on Sky Sports. There's a new one. There's this.
Marseille midfielder Angel Gomez as well. So deal sheets are in for both of them.
There we go. It is done. Deadline D, Brentford to Celtic. It is done. It's just flashed up on the screen. So that deal is done for the guy from Brentford. Let me just do this. It looks like the deal has been done because Sky News had it up in their confirmed ones on the right hand part of the screen, although there's nothing been made official yet, but Sky have had it as a done deal. Yeah, I just seen it, Stephen Johnson, the top right hand side of the corner. There's obviously Sky will get word of it. They wouldn't have put it up there if it's not going to be a done deal. Players understand they have a contract. We don't have any covering the position. Aren't leaving. I doubt he's unhappy. That is a good one, actually. I don't think Andy Engels will be unhappy, but anyway. Guys, mind that Martin is bringing these guys in. I trust him. Yeah, I trust Martin O'Neill as well. But until Celtic come out and confirm it, there is not a lot. There is obviously Motherwell are still waiting to get that one done. Right, there's been over 8,500 people on the live, and there's only been 703 votes. Has it been a decent window or shite? Good or crap? 79%. Oh, we just end that. I think we're done with the polls for tonight. My throat is absolutely killing me. Let me just see. Not seeing into the future, just common sense for someone to be angry about losing out on money. Players know that that's football. You know, players understand football, that they've got a contract at a club. He wasn't offered the job. He didn't turn the job down. So I don't know how Arnie Engels can be unhappy because he wasn't offered the wages. Celtic said no, he wasn't allowed to speak to them. His agent wasn't allowed to speak to them. His agent wouldn't even have known about it until they contacted Celtic. They're not contacting the agent, they're contacting Celtic. But anyway, loaning Welsh to Motherwell with nothing in return is criminal. Well, we're bringing in a defender. Yep, just sort of now Sky Sports that Arthur to Celtic is a done deal. Right. I'm going to go and lie in a darkened room for half an hour and I'm going to come back on in about an hour's time, I think. 8 o'clock, is that too early? Maybe. Come back on for the later bit of the Nicholson's off for a lie down. Oi, oi, oi. What's the time of the Celtic fans collective meeting tomorrow? Let me just double check. Because it may interrupt with the live. 7 o'clock, and it'll be done by 9, so I'll have plenty of time to get the live ready for 9 o'clock. Would you be happy in losing out on big bucks? Yeah, it's football, mate. You're under contract. Do you know, you're under contract. He's not asked to leave the club. Don't know if he was going to be unhappy. I think he would have been unhappy when he had the chance to go back to Germany. But anyway, we could talk about it later on once we have had the confirmation. Celtic still to announce Mavuka. Celtic still to announce the defender, and hopefully they'll do that and when we're live later on. Anyway, I am going for just to relax my throat because it's stunning. If I don't see you later on, I shall see you first thing in the morning. If not, have a fantastic evening, Celtic fans, wherever you are. I'll be back in about an hour or so. We'll do that.